we talking about protein in a VeggieRx call? We didn't preface that, 100% here, but we do have Sam and David and Linda with us today from AllCare and from Market. And we even got a little mini market tour earlier today or before everybody got on the meeting. And we've invited them here because we really wanted to hear more about the protein bucks program that was going on that is very similar to VeggieRx style programming, and thought that it would be a great way to see what other innovative food access programs are going on around the state, and how some of those program aspects or different program considerations, especially thinking about different areas in the state and different needs of the community, and how that plays out in programming and resources in the community. So Sam or David or Linda, I don't know who wants to jump in first, or y'all can speak at once, however you want to start us out.
I think what we're going to do is I'll do a quick overview and then hand it over to David for some more details around how we do some program work and some funding in the community. And then Linda will hand you the bulk of the time to talk about market logistics and how it actually works, and shopper and vendor responses. And then we'll just do Q&A, and we'll let the group lead it from there. So the biggest thing that we've run into is we know that throughout our region and throughout our state, there's a real problem with food access in general. And access, of course, is a combination of education, transportation, and economics. Oh, and I should probably introduce myself. Sam Engel, Social Determinants of Health Director for AllCare Health. And my background is in food and emergency food systems specifically. And then I've worked with on the council for Rogue Valley Community Food System since 2015, maybe 2014. So kind of a food nerd going back forever. And we grew goats and pigs and chickens and all that stuff when we were kids. And as a vegetarian in a steakhouse, that was a pretty entertaining way to learn more about food and food integration and being healthy while being a vegetarian, which I'm no longer. But the way that our funding mechanisms work around this is we have something called health-related spending. Those are HRS, or we call it HRS, health-related spending, health-related services. Those are flexible CCO dollars through the coordinated care networks that can be used for broad level community health improvement. Not respective to CCO members or folks on Medicare or Medicaid, but really looking at how overall community health is impacted. And the reason for that, of course, is that individual health is influenced by the people around you. Your choices tend to be influenced by the choices of the people that you're close to. This is true with not just eating, but things like exercise or recreational activities or smoking. Kind of in our orientation at the company, we used to talk about if your 3 closest friends and family members are going to go hiking over the weekend, you're likely to go hiking with them at least occasionally because of some solid peer pressure. Similarly, if your weekend activities for your best friends are cigarette and fried chicken parties, you're probably going to smoke fried chicken. No, I'm joking. And this, of course, is hard for me because my favorite foods are fried chicken and beer. So I try not to eat those very often. So the way that those dollars flow into the community is looking at community programs that are already doing good work that create health improvement. And then we try and support that by either building sustainability in those programs. This is a place where our dollars can be really well leveraged into other grant processes for folks, especially since every other foundation out there likes to ask questions about long-term sustainability for your programs. We can help build capacity. We can work with technical assistance. There's a lot of pieces that are kind of, we can help with staffing as long as the staffing is related back to the delivery of services. The priorities for that funding are built out around our community health assessment and our community health improvement plan. The community health improvement plan is usually a list of about a half a dozen things, depending on your community, broken down into 2 or 3 big priority areas. In our area, Josephine, Jackson, Curry, and Southern Douglas counties, those are pretty much family stability and strength, behavioral health, and housing. We've also added on oral health as a real impact, because it's very hard to eat healthy food if your teeth hurt, and it's very hard to be healthy if you can't eat healthy food. And equity, because we recognize that as being a root cause of poverty, and poverty is the root cause of all of these other factors that we're talking about. So that's how the community health improvement plan works. Those are how the dollars flow out of the CCOs into the community, with the goal of prioritizing community health around those high need areas. And to bring that around to now is the process when CCOs are going through the community health assessment. Community health assessment is just what it sounds like. You're assessing the overall health of your community into broad categories, and then using that data to build out your community health improvement plan. We're at the end of our 5-year arc for our community health improvement plan. And over the next year, we're going to get ready to relaunch our community health assessment, and then use that data to build out the health improvement plan that's going to inform the next 5 years of CCO funding and engagement into community health through wonderful partners like Linda. So as a pitch for something to do now with the data that you are all out there developing in your programs and in your communities, getting those data points to your CCO and whoever their contractors are, who are helping them do their community health assessments over the next year or so, is going to be a nice tool to help kind of guide their assessment process towards food and nutrition as a community health improvement planning kind of arc over the next 5 years. There's a lot of studies out there that the #1 need in the state for low-income families, and these are families making 138% of the poverty line or lower, is food, nutrition, and malnutrition and hunger. In different degrees for the different folks out there. In our region, we're getting ready to redo our community food assessment, which will be great. And then that'll become, and I'm speaking now from the Rogue Valley Food System Network. The Rogue Valley Food System Network is getting ready to redo its community food assessment, and that'll become a data point going into AllCare's community health assessment that'll go back to inform the next 5 years of our funding and help dedicate us to doing things like making sure that all of our community has access to fresh foods. And then we'll hear from folks about what specific needs are, whether it's childhood access or senior access, transportation around getting folks to markets. And 5 years ago, we really didn't have a lot of our markets using the SNAP match or the EBT readers. And so that was kind of a priority. And then that kind of evolved from the EBT reader into getting the SNAP match program kind of up and running in our community. And that was prior to the state launching that tool in 2019 through Senate Bill 727A. And then we ended up hearing from Linda that a big need we were running into was protein. The fruits and vegetables were great, but especially in rural communities where you don't have a lot of options for your grocery store and things are expensive and gas is expensive. And that was before gas was really expensive. We needed all of those pieces, especially for our seniors on fixed income and our low income families that were trying to connect the dots. And then David, I'll hand it on to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sam. That was a great job lining that out. For me, as someone who's relatively new to AllCare, I've been here a little bit over 6 months. It's really great to hear what Sam's describing and the way that these health-related services, these dollars that CCOs have, and how we're able to invest those dollars into the community for programs like Linda's with the Brookings Harbor Farmers Market to really increase the access of healthy, local, affordable food to community partners. And so just like Sam's talking about with those HRS dollars, essentially these dollars are community benefit initiatives. And the idea of those dollars is to improve health outcomes based off of these community health assessments that Sam's talking about, that address various areas of social determinants of health. So that looks like housing, food, equity, education. And today, of course, we're here to talk about the food. And that's really where this Double Up Food Bucks program shines. And when we think about our service areas, and for AllCare, just a reminder for folks, that's going to be Jackson, Josephine, and Curry County. And that's where Linda's calling from Brookings and Curry County along the coast. What's unique about this Double Up Foods program is it reaches and serves many of our members that are already members of AllCare. By proxy, by being on the Oregon Health Plan, there's that income threshold. So it's likely that folks that would qualify for OHP would also qualify for SNAP. And so oftentimes what this Double Up Food Bucks program enables is for folks that have their SNAP card where they're able to match those funds. So let's say they spend $20 at a grower's market, they're able to match those funds for fruits and veggies. So $20 soon becomes $40, which increases the availability, the affordability, the accessibility for individuals on low income to participate in this local food acquisition, right? And Sam's been instrumental in a lot of this work as well, moving this forward and allowing, particularly in our service area, the opportunity for local growers markets to, receive those machines that can accept these programs and adopt that. What is really unique, though, in particular, is the protein bucks aspect, and that's something that AllCare is proud to support through these community benefit initiative dollars. And what it does is it combines these tokens at a value of $10, and what individuals are able to do is use those tokens at these growers markets to make protein more affordable. And when we look at the growers market, oftentimes protein is some of the highest costing items. And so we realized that yes, fruits and vegetables are healthy, but for many people, for the complete meal, oftentimes the inclusion of protein is necessary and still difficult. And so that was a gap that we identified, and this was a way to help support those needs. And it's just beautiful how it benefits local farmers as well as the community. We look at right now the affordability, individuals on a fixed income, inflation. There's just a need more than ever. So that's something that AllCare, as funders, we've been very proud to help support, as well as what Sam was talking about with that Rogue Valley Food Network system assessment. So thank you. I'll pass it off really to the expert in the room about this. Linda, if you would like to share a little bit more about the Brookings Harbor Farmer Market, how you've seen these protein bucks benefit families in Brookings, and just give us some of those details of what a day in the life is like at the market. Thank you. That's actually where Linda's calling from. So appreciate you for being here to share.
There, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of quiet today. I mean, it's not been a crazy day, but it's the 1st of June. And a lot of people, they don't get loaded on their card until maybe the 4th, 5th, some of them the 9th. So today I've done like 4 transactions, and everybody was they just wanted the vegetables today. And they just wanted to take $20. I haven't had anybody that's particularly wanted to spend any more than that today. But like I say, a lot of people, they're either at the very end of last month's funding that they got, or they're just at the beginning. But usually I find the 1st of the month is not where the action is then. It's mostly in a couple of weeks when people have really got money and they're seeing vegetables come in and they're coming to the market. Plus the weather has just been awful. But the protein, we started doing the protein, and it was a choice. When AllCare let me do that, it's always been a choice. You can either do vegetables or you can do protein, and that was up to $10 match. During COVID, we spent about a month doing a double amount, and that was okay, but it kind of went through the money a bit too quick. But this time with the money, the funding that I got from the Farmers Market Association, I'm asking the customers if they want to take, how much they want to take of their own money. And if it's $30, they can go up to $30 and get a match on that. That would be $20 for vegetables and $10 extra for protein. And some, some people want to have maybe $10 in the double up for the vegetables. Some people want, and then they would take the $10 protein. So I'm giving them a choice. Protein right now is, like you said, like a lot of people have mentioned about protein, is eggs. Eggs got a bad rap a few years ago, and eggs right now, people are recognizing the food value of eggs. And plus, I think even though they're kind of expensive compared to what they used to be, they're still one of the cheaper proteins that you can buy. Alexander milk is our local dairy. It's kind of expensive, but people like to be able to buy that too, having the option to buy that. Then we have a tuna fish guy that I find that a lot of people are saving up their extra money and putting it aside and buying a case of tuna because they get a break on the price like that. So there's all, so many different varieties of people. Something else that I've noticed, when we first moved here in 2001, it was mostly elderly people. And now the demographics changed. There's so many young families with babies. Today, 3 people that have come in here today are pregnant. I'm saying, oh, we'd like to get some milk because our midwife has said it's good for the baby. And it didn't used to be that way. It's just pretty amazing. And yet there's another subject, but there's not really birthing facilities here. They have to go to Medford or to Coos Bay for that. It's amazing to me. But I know I'm going off subject a bit, but like I say, the Protein Bucks has been just a phenomenal program. I wish that we could allow them to spend their other, here I got a customer. Let's see how this goes. I don't know if you can see this. Dwayne, how much would you like?
10.
10, and what would you like? I can give you $10 extra in vegetables, or I can give you $10 extra in protein.
Well, I'll take the vegetables, and then I can always train them for protein.
You can.
Yeah, I have some protein that I'm going to buy this with.
Okay, all right. So you just want 10 today, because I can double you up to 20.
Well, I get 10 and 10, don't I?
Yeah, or you get 20 and 20.
Okay. I get 20 and 20. Now you're confusing me.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll take 20 and 20.
Okay, all right. So what I do, we're on a Zoom call at the moment. So what I do is I swipe his card for $20. That's going to give him $20 off of his card. He puts his PIN number in.
For a second, I thought you were going nuts because you were sitting there talking. I thought,
I'm not
who's she talking to?
I'm talking to myself. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I do it in tens, it's easier. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So there's your $20 off of your card. Here's your receipt with your balance. And then I'm going to give you $20 in Double Up Food Bucks, which is from a grant from the Farmers Market Association. And I'll count this out to you. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So you can go spend that with Sylvia, or you can use it for the microgreens that we've got today.
Okay.
And the pork is 7. So you got 7 tickets from the protein, okay, that you saved. Is this yours?
Are you teaching someone?
Yes, we're talking on a Zoom call about this.
Oh.
Thank you, Dwayne, very much. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You got it?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
All right. Would you like a bag?
I have a bag.
Okay, all right. So anyway, that's this is Dwayne. So can you say hello?
Hello. Zoom. This is Mrs. Zoom.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Dwayne.
Okay. Anyway, but usually I've got 10 people lined up, waiting for me to give them their tokens to spend, which is kind of difficult in a way, because what they want me to do is every time they want me to write it down. It's okay today, but it gets really hectic, doesn't it, Dwayne?
It does. Crazy,
Mhm.
crazy, man.
But anyway, so that's kind of how it works. And then he can go spend his tokens and his tickets.
But you guys aren't selling drugs anymore.
We're not, I know, we had to quit doing that. And I have to say, I know most of these customers by their first name, and a couple of weeks. Mhm.
Thanks.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you're welcome. So that's kind of how it works. I mean, he had a stack of here's my protein ones that I make, that from the AllCare Health grant. I make these on my computer, and he had a stack of them that he'd saved up to spend, you know, when sometimes they have sales down at the meat department. Right now it's $6 a pound for ground grass-fed ground beef, and I see they spend a lot of money down there.
Well, Linda, if I can add something in, one of the things that makes this program so great is, first off, if you haven't been down to Brookings Harbor, it's a small community. It's kind of the last thing before California, the Southern Oregon coast. But the community, both shoppers and also the vendors, spoke up over and over to say what they wanted from the community. Linda came in as a good advocate back to AllCare and said what the community wanted. We now any rule against it. When we did the research on it, we weren't sure, because the snap match programs are always, that we've seen, have always been around fruits and vegetables specifically. And so doing one specifically for non-herbaceous protein, Juliet, if I can use that, when we tried to do the research around the country, it looked like the only model that we could find was used to try and reestablish the shrimp industry in Louisiana following the fire and explosion on the Deepwater Horizon there in the Gulf of Mexico, whatever year that was, 14, I think, 13. And so as far as we could tell, this was the only program of its type at the time running in the country to address a chronic crisis of access to nutrition rather than an emergent access issue like the Deepwater Horizon issue caused there in Florida or Louisiana. All that to say, thank you, Linda.
Well, you know, I appreciate that. I'm out in amongst the people, and so I know what they want. And like I was saying earlier to David, is that there's a lot of access to vegetables and fruit here, but especially for seniors. They get so much. They get a free food box at the food bank of fresh vegetables. They get their farm direct coupons. They get the money that I give them, and it's like, it's per week. It's a lot of money to spend on just, you know, apples and cabbage. It's like, oh, kale. It's not too bad in the summertime when you've got a lot of you know, really nice fruit, peaches and strawberries and stuff like that. But at the moment we don't have very much really variety to offer. But anyways, I think AllCare Health and the money that they've given me from the Farmers Market Association, because it's really, I'm going through a lot of money and it's getting spent. So I do appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Linda. I wanted to bring up a little bit, some comments in the chat here. And Sam or David, if you have more to add, or anybody on this call is kind of launching the conversation. But Juliet mentioned this, and Stephanie and Nicole, kind of with your question too here about the misconception that vegetables or plant-based proteins are not, like, that there's a difference between vegetables and protein, that they have to be kind of two separate pots of thought. And Sam, you had mentioned earlier in the comments about kind of one of the maybe setbacks, or not setbacks, but challenges of this, the Double Up Food Bucks type of program, is that there isn't necessarily an educational component to that. And so I think like bringing all of these different comments about that education around how are people getting protein, that there's a lot of variety, as we saw in the icebreaker question, right? There's animal proteins and plant-based proteins and complex proteins when we stick things together. And so I guess if anybody wants to comment on that subject.
I think just to kind of jump off that as a bit of a transition, around a transition, but yeah, so Double Up Food Bucks does leave the responsibility for the nutritional choice on the shopper. And typically Double Up Food Bucks do this by directing the shopper only to fruits and vegetables, non-value added fresh fruits and vegetables at places like growers markets or in participating retail stores, which is a great model. I actually really like the retail model version because, well, that's where people are typically shopping anyway. I prefer the market version because those dollars are going back into the hands of local producers and then circulating in the community and all of that great stuff. And actually the first voucher that was returned was by a market vendor. One of our producers who was vending that day at the market was the very first person to return a voucher because a lot of our growers are not making a lot of money at the end of the season or anywhere in the middle of it. So yeah, educational materials like handouts or other education programs, master gardeners coming down, all of those things are ways to add to that conversation about how people could do some kind of like diet specific eating. And we have other partners in the community that are doing a lot of that work, but it's not a factor of the market match programs under their various names. Well, similarly, we also have transportation support for some of our members who are using markets or receiving like emergency food boxes and other resources like that.
It also sounds like, and maybe Linda, you can speak to this too, but that, you know, in every community, there are challenges and limitations in terms of the variety of things that are available. You were talking about, you know, apples and cabbage, or depending on the season, there might not be anyone producing more plant-based protein, beans and legumes and other types of plant-based proteins that are actually available for sale at the farmers market. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or.
We actually don't have anybody right now that's growing beans or you know, lentils and things like that. I'm not sure how hard that would be in this area. I mean, I've tried in the past when I used to grow. I don't grow anymore. I just have sheep and poultry. But when I used to do a garden, so hard to do dried beans just to grow them in the short season that we have. So I don't have anybody that's even, you know, suggested that they do that. We have a lot of cold season vegetables here, as well as, you know, in the height of the summer. And then we got people that come over from the valley. But I don't know, we would have to source beans and lentils and things from an outside source if we wanted to carry that. And, you know, maybe we could do that. I hadn't really given it any thought before. So you've given me some ideas. I could see how to bring that in, but it wouldn't be supporting a local farmer, because I just don't see the way that anybody could grow it in this climate.
And then kind of regionally, we do have, I think it's Dinsdale Farm. I could be wrong on the name. I could be confusing it with the sod and pasture folks. But there's a farm in Jackson County that has produced some beans, but they don't produce on large scale. They only produce a couple of acres. And then when I still had property that I was doing nonprofit commercial, that was when we did the cost analysis of producing beans, you needed a lot of acreage. And that's one of the other things that comes out of our local food assessment. We have very, very few farms in our region that are over 5 acres. And so producing enough beans to make it cost effective from a producer standpoint, especially if you're using any harvesting equipment, is a lot. It costs about $1,000 just to get the equipment onto your property, and I think it's $1,000 a day after that. And then if you're going to borrow someone else's without purchasing that yourself. Meanwhile, the return on investment for something like a lettuce or a Swiss chard is really, really high because you get multiple cuttings off the same product, and you aren't either equipment or weather dependent on that first round of processing like you are for dried beans.
Yeah, but just to interject, when the weather's perfect for growing cold weather vegetables and lettuces and things like that, everybody grows it. And so the people, there's a lot of people that put their own garden in, and they'll say, well, I've got lettuce, I've got kale in my own garden, because those are, like you say, easy and cost effective to grow. But yeah, the bean thing, we just have to source it from somewhere else. There's just no other way of doing that. I don't see anyway. But we have, we have, like we just got through, I think this is the last week of asparagus. We have a farm out in, it's near Cape Junction, Rogue River, I think, that has almost half an acre of asparagus, and it's just been phenomenal, but it's almost at the end of that now. And then we got Sylvia's Produce does about half an acre of strawberries every year, and they've been battered by the rain, but we're starting to get some, and we should get more going forward. And then it's just always the same. I've got people that come over from the valley that will bring different items, but beans is just, like you say, it's just really not cost effective for anybody to do.
Thank you, Linda and Sam. Ecole, I see your hand up. I just want to recognize that we really appreciate all of you coming and presenting about this program. And I think what this highlights for me, at least, is looking at each program is so unique to the region and area in which it is created, and knowing what resources and strengths and connections and networks and farmers there are. And so each program may look slightly different in each area depending on what those resources are available. And I just want to thank all of you for putting energy and effort towards food access in your community and how incredibly important that is. And we know that every program, there's always going to be new ideas and new suggestions and improvements here and there. And this is such an iterative process that without some of those suggestions and ideas bouncing back from customers and growers, those programs can't evolve. And so, but it sounds like y'all are doing some really amazing work. And Ecole, I will hand it over to you you have a question here.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I love this idea, this program, and there's nothing to say that like we can't, I don't know what maybe you said this already, I'm sorry if I missed it, what the parameters of the protein bucks are. If there's like on the double up food bucks, it says fruit, vegetables, mushrooms, beans, herbs, veggie starts. It's very clear. And then on the protein bucks, it could say mushrooms, beans, meat, blah, 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 just as a thought, because, open it up, even if there's not that available, it helps people remember that protein is in these other things. And then if it is available, cool. So just a thought. I'm curious what
if I could just clarify that. Will they get a choice when they take the $10 from AllCare? It used to be, do you want fruit and vegetables or do you want protein? So they would know that they definitely wanted to go spend it on vegetables, or they know that they want to save it up for tuna fish. So they already know, they already calculate out what they want. And the AllCare, the 2020 match that we do is, but like you say, specific, is only fruit, vegetables, mushrooms, and vegetable starts, and that's all they can spend that on. And all I was in the beginning, I said, well, we've got all this money, it would be so nice if they could also have the choice of protein, and they were like, no we can't do that. But maybe it will change later, maybe next year.
I was just wondering, is there something specific on the protein bucks that says they can't get? Is it limited?
Well, it's anything protein, and it's, I mean, you've got, like, for example, honey isn't protein. Honey is only like 0.5% of protein in honey, so that doesn't count. It's basically meat, milk, cheese, eggs, fish, just your regular proteins. I mean, if you wanted to buy lentils with it, which we don't have anyway, but lentils would be a protein, but you could buy that with the vegetable bucks. I mean, because it's a vegetable too, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, we don't have to, the vegetable ones are more limited, I think, than the protein ones. So the protein could be less limited and the vegetable ones could be more limited, and then you could use your money for either way. Anyway, I think y'all get my point.
And I know we have a couple dietitians on the call. There is a question about is there protein pretty much in all vegetables? Nicole, you're on mute.
I'm just gonna say, like, I wouldn't say there's enough protein to qualify as a protein source in all vegetables. I think there are some, like we're talking about beans and legumes and nuts and seeds, and even mushrooms have, seaweed. So, like, there are some, but I would say in all vegetables, no, I wouldn't consider them all a protein source.
I'm pretty sure that Cooler Ranch Doritos contain traces of real milk.
Right?
Or like aren't a significant source of like dietary calcium. And I think that that's kind of where we're going with some of that. Like will this help complete somebody's like daily allowance of or daily nutritional needs for protein or not in a significant way?
Yeah.
Kind of going back to like, how much spinach do you have to eat?
Yeah, significant source. I think, you can qualify it by talking about significant sources of protein. And then you create a standard for that, or you look up the standard.
And as a 90s kid, I endorse Cooler Ranch Doritos, but not really.
Well, we are coming at the end of the hour here. I just wanted to thank Sam and David and Linda and Dwayne for being such a great example of how the program works. And I love that we got to actually witness that transaction happening. I know that made my day today, and great to see how that all works. So thank you all for being willing to spend your time, and especially Linda, who is in the middle of her market. And I know how stressful that can be, but you're amazing, Linda. And I know you're probably speaking with a customer right now. If anyone wants to, or Sam and David and Linda, if you want to put your contact information in the chat, if you're willing to take any additional questions offline, that would be incredible. And if you do have a few minutes, you're not jumping onto another call, I think we'll probably stop the recording. But I know we wanted to give a quick update about the GusNIP grant and kind of where we fell on next steps for that.